I think one of the big things you do as a yoga teacher is you try to create your own definition of success. Like, what does success mean? And a lot of the times I watch videos that I've filmed and I feel like very disappointed in myself. Like, I did not teach to the caliber or in a clear enough way. Sometimes I watch videos and I'm happy. Sometimes I look at metrics or numbers and I'm happy, and sometimes I'm not happy at all. And I think things are moving very slowly. There's all these different like little benchmarks we can use as success. But like when I listen to your guys' study group calls, and I'm just like, wow, this group of people that is pulled together around this, like that is the biggest definition. Like that, I've never felt more like quote unquote successful than just by thinking about like this group and the caliber of students we have. It's really like emotional. It's awesome. One thing that I just wanted to call out that got talked about in the study group that I thought was really cool was this idea of like feeling like a legitimate yoga teacher if you haven't like gone to India, or if you haven't had these certain experiences, or this idea of comparison. And I just wanted to share with you guys that that's like something that never goes away, ever. It never goes away. You just always feel like that. Comparison is just the worst. And you really just, it like makes me think of pratipashka, right? It's like cultivate the opposite. Anytime I feel jealous or comparing myself to another teacher, I'm like, can I tweet them and like actually shout them out or bump them up in some way, right? Like cultivating that opposite. But comparison is such a killer, and it's really hard because I know we all have limited circumstances, limited, family situations. And I just really wanted to share with you guys that that's something that never goes away. It's not like you reach a certain level in your teaching and then you feel good. I mean, for me, myself, I really want to study with Gurmukh really, really badly, but she only teaches like once a year in LA and for like a full month in India. And there's no way I'm going to India for a full month. I've been to India 4 times, not going back, or I'd go back to like host my own retreat maybe, but there's no way I can leave home for a month. And I don't even have kids, but there's no way that can happen. And, even going to LA is hugely challenging. So it's like, well, do I study with another really senior Kundalini teacher who's in my area? And what does that look like? Like you're constantly fantasizing, and it never really ends. But I really loved, I think it was like Alexis, what she was saying, which was that like the yoga really is in our daily life. All the people who were doing yoga teacher training in Bali, that is so awesome. And it's great. And they're having their experience, but like the yoga is really happening. It's like, I think of Core Power, where I occasionally go sometimes. Kathleen will love this, but it's like, you're in Core Power yoga. And then I leave, and the woman who was like practicing 3 mats away from me is like honking at me in the parking lot and like swearing at me as I like walk home. It's like the yoga is when we're not in the studio. And I think that's what makes this group so special. And the other thing I really wanted to say was that like you going to India or you studying with a certain teacher, and I remind myself of this as well, isn't what's going to attract students to you or make you unique. Like it's your story, your experiences. And this ties really nicely into the Tantra lecture, like how we're all so unique. Like I think like, no one thinks thoughts the way you do. No one, there's just no one like you. You're so individual and unique and incredible. And like your story, what you've been through so far, whatever it is in your life and your current circumstance is what makes you so special. And it's not studying abroad, and it's not studying with a particular teacher. And it's like, every time I see Robin's photos with her daughter in it, I'm like, that is so kick-ass, like that's amazing. And that's what people need. Like, so whatever you think your sort of limitation or struggle is very often the very opportunity you have to connect or be very unique, if that makes sense.
So I really struggled with this concept of this quote, because he also talks a lot about how like none of this stuff ever goes away, right? And so like, what is this path for liberation if it also never really goes away? And that's something I had a hard time reconciling when I was reading this book. The connection between the less painful version of that and this like true path to liberation is to let go of everything was really unclear.
So it kind of reminds me, again, it's kind of fun because it ties back to the Tantra lecture a little bit, but about like karma and dharma and your prakriti, right? Like how we all have these lessons. And again, I might be tangenting a little bit from your question, but my interpretation or loose interpretation of what he's maybe saying is that we're all on this path. We all have this karma, these lessons that we need to learn. And what I relate to sort of what he's talking about a little bit is like, how easily do you want to move through your karmic path? Because the goal would be to be like, we're not constantly, the goal would be to be in a place where we've learned all the lessons we want to learn. And we're sort of just like in maintenance mode. That's sort of like my interpretation of it, right? And like things are still gonna like trigger you a tiny bit here and there, but like the big things that you've been put here to learn that you need to overcome have happened. And then you're just in like maintenance mode, just trying to stay present here and there. Like for most of us, I think we're still very much our whole life working through some big lessons that we need to learn or things we need to let go of. But I mean, it is confronting. It's definitely confronting in the sense that, you know, he's saying like, there's no end and this never really gets easier, but it's just a practice. Does that help at all?
Yeah, I think it does. I think, it is basically this idea that you're working towards this thing that is, you may never truly get there, but you're kind of just moving further along the path. Like Robin said in the chat, like the light bulb moments. I think that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. When we were talking about naming, there is there's a woman that I follow and listen to on podcast, Tara Brach.
My mom loves her. Yeah.
She is awesome. And she talks a lot about that, you know, naming your demons and, you know, sitting there, like if your thing is, you know, anger, like repeating that word, anger, and sitting with it. And after repeating it so often as a mantra, it comes to you that what's beyond that? What's at the foundation of the anger? And then you can sit with it. And it's that thing that kind of tying into this quote though, too, it's that which we're confronting and we're learning to live with and live beyond. And we recognize it. It kind of ties into also the book that we were reading, the creativity book in Uplifted, where it's like, you know, that feeling or emotion can be in the car, but it can't have the front seat with you. It's not riding shotgun.
Right.
So you just learn to embrace it and deal with it. And it's part of your life, but you'll always be on the journey. But I think much like you were saying, you learn to just, that was part of your karma. You've worked through it. And now you're being the teacher in the moment for somebody else.
Yeah, totally. I love that.
And can I add something? This is Ellen. As someone who's 74, it's a lifetime journey. And I really feel like I'm doing much better with Elaine than I did when I was your age, or I did when I was in my 40s or 50s. It's a lifetime, and it's a good journey, okay? It's not scary, okay? You get better and better at it, and you'll surprise yourself even 5 years from now about how much better you'll be about putting things in context and not reacting so much. And I'm a really reactive person, as anyone who knows me will tell you, but I have improved, and I feel like these are the lessons that are being presented that are exactly what I need at this point to go into my senior years and all the unexpected things that are going to happen for us that are really expected, right? The problems of your 70s, 80s, and 90s, all right? But that I'm going to be able to handle them with more equanimity than I ever had any idea I could back when I was your age.
Thanks, Ellen.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Ellen. So great.
Can I add something too?
Yes, please.
So, because I, to be honest, I don't remember where he said it will never go away, but I remember that there was also another concept either in the Padas or in Jack Kornfield's book, is that it's this paradox that once you let go of searching for happiness all the time, you will actually be happier and you will be happy. It's maybe a different happiness than how we define happiness right now, but they still say that actually there is something like being more happy. And from my experience, I mean, I'm very much at the beginning of my journey, etc., and I have 1,000 things to learn. But I did notice since I started kind of spiritual practice, I do notice like very concrete things that are much easier. Like I find myself when I'm in a situation that I remember that I'm getting attached to something, or that I'm angry at something, and